let's go ahead and kick off one of the most important things for a lot of people, which is getting funded on chain.
Yes, and again, big shout out to Mac. Appreciate all your help and your team, and congrats to all the winners. Enjoy those NFTs and plug in if you have any questions. Reach out to those communities. I'm sure they would all love to welcome. I can't wait to see who won that. Who won the G's and all those dangs. Go ahead, Mac. I saw your hand go back up.
Yeah, just want to say thank you again, and also shameless plug. We're not a very big or fancy team, but we work hard. So I'm looking forward to hearing all this how to get funding stuff from ThankApe and whatnot. We've submitted some on the Thrive protocol. We're waiting to click the button on the Swamp Roots next opening. We got so much more stuff that we're like sitting on and building currently as well. So yeah, help out a small team.
Well, not a big team, but you said not big and fancy. I would argue you're quite fancy. But go ahead, Cap.
I was going to say he perfect segue and setup for our next conversation here. He mentioned the Swamp Roots program. I see we got Waabam on the audio spaces. Let's go to Jay here first on the video feed. This space, this conference day, ApeCon was Mac mentioned Swamp Roots program. We're here today because of Swamp Roots. And so before we even jump into talking about getting funded and all that you're doing and what's coming soon, just truly want to say thanks for all that you've done. I've been a recipient of a Built by ApeCoin program with my board shorts. Like I said, ApeCon is happening today because of ThankApe and the Swamp Roots initiative. So on behalf of myself and Steve and Laura and everyone who's tuned in today, our winner is that 5,000 ape to the winner this afternoon is coming from ThankApe. And truly, we wouldn't be able to pull this off today without you. So truly appreciate it for all you do. And Mac might have let something slip there. He mentioned he's got a button like this because the Swamp Roots program is completed. Did you want to hit on anything he might have mentioned in passing, or is that alpha we're not supposed to share yet?
Yeah, so I actually mentioned it in a previous space, but we are reopening Swamp Roots real soon. So keep an eye out for that. I did share that in a spaces the other day, but going to make a more formal announcement about it when we are ready. A lot has been going on behind closed doors. We're really preparing for this, seeing the successes of the first Swamp Roots. Honestly, it's really exciting. There are a few grantees actually completing that program as we speak, submitting their final milestone. Honestly, like Introverse, for example, blew everything out of the water. Like they crushed their goals, and it's so exciting to see that type of stuff. But yeah, honestly, great job with this conference. I wish I was able to watch all of it. Unfortunately, I had to bounce in between meetings and then hop on here whenever I could. But you guys are doing an amazing job, and it's exciting that this is finally happening.
Yeah, we're grateful to y'all because I am again. I'm not a feign excitement or say BS. Like, well, first of all, obviously a man of great style. We now have 3 of the OG Bored Ape. Laura's gonna go change and be right back, but
I haven't, so I'm gonna go change.
I know we're all like but I kid. We're all matching. I'm guessing Waabam on audio is wearing the same one, but no, ThankApe. Cap and I are both like somewhat obsessed with ThankApe and Thrive as a platform. Just seeing how it works. I mean, it's been so helpful to the community, including builders who have been on here today. So love that. But want to get Waabam in here as well. And Waabam, again, I want to highlight something Garga said earlier. He said lawyers ruin everything. So I'm going to throw it to you with that. I don't agree, just for the record. I'm not going to say that. But Waabam, if you don't mind giving and hey, it's funny, he said lawyers ruin anything. I'm like, shout out Cam Waabam. But if you don't mind giving a little bit of your background and talking us through that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, happy to, guys. Great to be here. Love to be on camera. I was a last minute substitute for Cam here, so I didn't get the full instructions. But if somebody wants to DM it to me, I'll hop on camera as well. But yeah, I'm Waabam. I'm a recovering lawyer by trade, but not practicing. Left my legal practice. God, like 3 years now, 3 years ago now, to jump into Web3 full time. Caught the Web3 bug in 2021, 2022, like probably a lot of people in here. Was lucky to be one of the folks that did well trading. Traded my way to the point where I didn't really need to keep practicing anymore, and left my legal practice and went full Web3, and basically, was looking around for opportunities and for places where I could contribute. And ApeCoin DAO was, like, to me, the most exciting opportunity and the place where I that I resonated and vibed with the most. And I've, haven't really looked back. I've been contributing now for, almost 3 years in a variety of roles. And most recently was lucky to be named onto the revamped leadership team that the foundation put together with Cam and Cates as our CEO, Yuga's former chief business officer, along with one Kim as chief commercial officer, and then myself as chief strategy officer. So in my new role, I'm responsible for, overall strategy and specifically looking at, how do we make the foundation and the DAO, sustainable, what sort of treasury management sort of exercises or strategies can we be undertaking to, ensure we have, runway, and that we're, utilizing our assets correctly. So yeah, really excited to be here. Happy to chat. I'm also on the Banana Bill, which is our ecosystem fund where we invest into, teams and projects that want to build in the ApeChain ecosystem. So, excited to talk a bit about that and about how we can, support and fund, builders and creators in our space.
It's awesome. We oh shit. My audio back? Okay.
Your audio's there,
Okay, it was just on my end. We earlier talked about like ecosystem support and the ApeChain hub. For those that are new, or maybe this is the first time they're hearing about funding or starting to look at how to get secure funding for building on ApeChain, we'll talk about all things Thrive and ThankApe, as well as you mentioned the Banana Bill, the ecosystem fund, and we also have the DAO. Those are really the three main funding components, right? I know like ThankApe will have other programs like Swamp Roots we mentioned, but are those really the three main funding routes today? And if someone's brand new with BAM, where should they start? If like I got an idea, I need funding to do this. Should I start at the DAO? Should I start at the ecosystem fund? Should I start at ThankApe? Does that depend on how much my funding need is? Like where if someone's brand new, how do they get started, and who should they be talking to first?
Yeah, I think it depends on the idea and on like the scale, and maybe how like fleshed out it is. Each of those, yeah, you were correct in saying the three are ThankApe, AIPs, and then the Banana Bill, and they each have a different different sort of scale that they can reach, and somewhat different like requirements and expectations around like how detailed does your idea or proposal have to be, how well thought out is it, how much how strong is the thesis, how much are your do you have KPIs built out? Do you have other investors? They're all sort of on a bit of a continuum. In my mind, like the Swamp Roots and the ThankApe program is probably the most accessible, and would be a great starting place for a lot of builders and a lot of creators. But it does depend on your idea and where sort of along the ideation and building process your idea is.
Makes sense. And I did share that I shot you that DM. If you do want to join us on video, you're more than welcome. No obligations though. I know it was a last minute pinch hit, and greatly appreciate it. Jay, what about yourself? If someone's like, I know Swamp Roots is coming up next. Should they wait? Are there things they could be doing in the ThankApe ecosystem today? Go follow the Twitter account. I posted some posts up above from Daniel, the founder at Thrive, as well as a Thrive protocol post. So go follow those accounts. What else should they be doing, if anything, in advance of the next Swamp Roots initiative launching?
My biggest recommendation would probably be like if you're preparing to apply to the upcoming round, reach out to a pre-existing Swamp Roots grantee. I heard this being mentioned earlier, but this ecosystem is extremely collaborative, right? Like apes are apes. And that's one of the best parts. And people are more than happy. They'll go out of their way to give you guidance, to give you the help that you need. I would highly recommend doing that. So I think on ThankApe's account, we still have it pinned, but it's the list of active grantees within the Swamp Roots program. If there is someone that you've seen like on the more public side on building in public, reach out to them, ask them advice. What has been working for them? What hasn't been working for them? The onboarding process, just being as prepared as possible, I think is the most important. And then just dialing in your plan. Like you have a vision, like what is your plan of execution? Like really dial that in before our application opens, because you know the application, while it is accessible to everyone, people often just glaze over it, right? It seems lengthy. It seems like there's so many questions I have to answer, but the more detailed you are, the better chance you have. And you know, it's really important to give as vivid of a picture of not only your vision of the project, but how you plan on executing it, right? Like there's the saying of, you know, ideas are cheap, execution is everything. It's so true. And while Web3 is still relatively new, everything kind of seems like an idea, right? But it's how you plan on executing it, what metrics you're going to be following in that process, and how you plan on sharing that information are all really important pieces that, you know, I would recommend to have prepared for that application when it does open.
It's great advice. And yeah, take the time. The applications, it may seem daunting. It does ask for a lot of information, but having raised funds traditionally in a past life, it's like they should be, right? I've also seen, I feel like there's been a tone shift as well. Excuse me, not just from ThankApe or Thrive. And I feel as if there's always been, you know, a good level of due diligence done there from your guys' end. But I've seen some posts recently, I don't know if it was ThankApe or Thrive, just talking about like merit-based grants and rewarding results and those that are actually building. You mentioned about the results that Introverse saw with the game recently and crushing their, you know, their criteria, their milestones. I'll just say one of the things I really respect and appreciate is, at least in my experience with ThankApe, it has been funding in tranches. And you're not just approving someone because they had a great application and send them a big bag of ape. Rather, okay, do your first milestone, show us you're actually building towards this, and then we'll release a bucket, and then we'll release another bucket. It's just, am I right in thinking that the space at large, it's I don't know the right way to put this in words. It's not like, I don't want to say the money is hard to secure funding. Relatively, it might be easier to secure funding here than it is in the traditional world, but be thankful that there's application process. Be thankful that it's like you actually can get approved based on merit in what you're building and the impact it may or could have, not whether you're popular or not. Like, I guess that's what I was trying to get to, is it doesn't feel like, for a while, it felt like some of these DAOs, I'm not even talking ApeCoin DAO, just a lot of them, it felt like funding became a popularity contest in crypto and Web3. And I feel we're heading into much more of a merit-based environment. Am I onto something there, or is it still wild, wild west?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the past couple of years, you know, a lot of these ecosystems, they're always looking for the next big product, like the next poly market, for example, right? And the reality is that like you can't uncover that until you see the application, you give them the chance. But on the flip side, there's also the bad actors, and Web3 of all places is full of them, right? We've seen it time and time again, and we just got to get through that. And so these foundations are learning, and they're learning very quickly on you know what has been impactful and how to kind of reorient that way of thinking. And so that's why it really is merit based now. We want to make sure that there is impact, there is value being created within that ecosystem. And once you achieve that, then yeah, happy to distribute those funds. But until we see like real proof of that, whether it's like, you know, not botting your transaction volume, right? Like we could see that, we've seen it time and time again. It's very obvious to those that are reviewing and validating this type of work. Just be very intentional and be honest, and you'll be rewarded for that.
And well, Bam, I think similar question. And just so our judging contestants know, we're running a little behind. So probably in, 5 to 7, we'll get started on this final round of the startup competition. But, this is one of, I think, the most valuable things for people right now is getting funded because, a lot of times, Von Frun's talked about some of the funding he got that he was necessary to kind of keep him going. And so I guess like with Bam, similar question, we've seen some, what I have felt, at least for me, similar, a swift sea change in sort of distribution of money to say, like, look, we need to have a clear benefit. We need to have a clear idea. We had no more dumb shit a few months ago, and it feels like we're sort of moving that direction. So if people are talking to Banana Bill or trying to get funded in some way, shape, or form, what is it something you would look for, a recommendation you would say to someone coming in for that? And I don't have Wabam's audio. I don't know, Cap, if you do, or if that's a Cap thing.
Oh shit! Looks like we lost him off Spaces. See if we can get it back up here.
We have him.
Oh, there he is. Got him back.
All right, we'll try.
Hey, guys.
All right, that's
I
working.
was trying to do on the video conference there, but I'll just do it on here.
You're good on. You're live on. So we got your audio on X now, but your video's back live. So you're good as is, or you can mute the Spaces and either way. But we can hear you. You're fine.
Okay. Yeah. So in terms of Banana Bill, we're looking for projects with a thesis and like with a legitimate idea, a monetizable product, and something that drives value back to ApeChain and ApeCoin. So we're looking for like KPIs that can track the value, and we want to understand, what are you building, what are your goals, and how are your objectives measurable. So yeah, I mean, in this environment with the market where it is, we're being very selective about what we invest in. We're looking for good teams and good ideas. But yeah, if you've got a great idea, and you've got a good team, we're extremely excited to talk to anybody who wants to build on ApeChain. So yeah, so come on over.
Is there a particular type or a particular things that you think, like categories of things you'd be looking for, or is it just like, hey, we want to keep it broad because we want to encourage creativity, or is it no, we know that these are beneficial to the chain, therefore this is the type of thing we're looking for?
We don't have like specific categories that we're looking for. Like anybody can apply with any idea. In fact, we're looking for like things that are new and weird and different. We've obviously got right now NFTs are hot on ApeChain. The Shadows technology is like a new primitive that is sort of ripe for experimentation. So folks that want to, try new things with NFTs, try new things with Shadows. That's somewhere that like we're really excited to receive applications, and we think there's a lot of cool shit that people can do. But we're open to anything. You can bring an application for any category. And we'll read it, we'll take it, we'll review it, and we'll be happy to meet with you.
Awesome. I think similar question, you walked us through a pretty detailed process there, Jay, as well. And I'm curious, like, are there things that you, let me ask it differently. Is there a certain type of thing that you would say runs to the top of the list, like after going through the application where you're like, yes, we need more of insert thing here? Or is it just, again, do you keep it wide open blue sky, but you want people to have the ability to be creative?
It's pretty blue sky. As long as it fits within, ApeChain and it makes sense, we're definitely open to hearing that. But just as what Bam had said, NFTs are there. And ApeChain has really brought back that excitement. So leaning into that, like outside of the things that we already have, right? Like not that there's a necessary need for more NFT launch pads. If you can add a unique twist to it, that's a whole different story, right? And so like it's just leveraging what we know is working is obviously a good way to stand out. But then being innovative, like we're really looking to fund cool, fun shit that people can engage with on a regular basis.
Awesome. I guess I don't know, Cap or Laura, if you have anything else, because I know we gotta get to our final judge round here. But I am like the thing I would ask is, I've been kind of doing this all day with various people. And then I'll kind of hand it to them for any final thoughts. But like, if you were giving, because again, part of the point of this is, for anybody who hasn't been listening in all day, is we want to give all the tools and opportunities you have to build on ApeChain, the launch pads, how to go D2C. We have a funding competition, all of networking with the right people. If you were to give one tip to somebody who says, I have an idea, I just need funding and I know it's there, and I'll start with you with Bam, what is the one tip you would give them to say, okay, this is where you start to make sure you give yourself the best chance to succeed?
If it's an early idea, I would say reach out to Swamp Roots, jump into ThankApe, and use that as a sort of proof of concept. You'll get like a decent sized grant and a decent sized proposal, and then from that point, come and talk to us, put an application in with us. After you've had proof of concept and you've built out your idea, then bring it over to us.
I know you're going to go to Jay for some question. Before we move on, Waabam, is there anything, let's say it's not funding, but I want to plug in for support. We didn't really highlight any of those other open campus, any of those other initiatives, any of those you want to shout out here before we move on? Like, I just need business support. I need startup support, or this is my first venture. I don't even know what to do. I've been really impressed. I haven't personally went through any of those programs yet, other than the Built by ApeCoin with ThankApe, but I talked to several friends who are getting a lot of value out of those programs. Yeah, is there any of those that you want to hit on?
Yeah, I mean, the APU is doing great work educating folks. It's a fantastic program. We're actually in the process of bringing on a partner success manager, and this person will be a great touch point for folks who are looking for support, that maybe isn't in the form of just a grant or funding. So once they're up and running and that's rolled out, that'll be another great touch point. But yeah, I think APU, ThankApe, Banana Bill, and don't be afraid to DM people. I read my DMs, Cam, Juan, other folks on the ApeChain team, Spencer. If you have an idea and you just want to chat, or you want support that isn't necessarily through an arduous grant approval process, just hit us up in our DMs. We're all available.
Appreciate it very much. So, Jay, anything we didn't hit on today that you wanted to make sure you share before we let you guys get out of here?
Not in particular that I can think of, just that, be prepared, get ready to articulate your vision, like in depth, really understand what you're trying to build, the vision, the execution, all of that, all of those little variables, dial that in. And when we open up our application, submit it. Also try, because this is feedback we've heard from various partners actually, is try to avoid using, I know we all love ChatGPT and using AI, and it's a very easy thing to copy and paste the application and be like, okay, what would this ecosystem need? And then it just spits out this AI version of what your vision is. It's very obvious. Like, we see right through that. I think what's most impactful in an application is hearing from the founder's mind and their voice, like what that really is. AI is not going to be able to articulate it as well as the person that has that vision can. So be wary on AI and using that within the application, maybe to help grammar or something. But for the most part, speak in your own voice. Like that, it's very important that we understand your vision as deeply as possible. That's one of my biggest key advices outside of being able to articulate that vision.
I love that one. I love that advice, because we're all about using technology, using AI. And yet, because we use it so much, we also come hyper aware of when something just sounds like, come on, you just wrote me so many paragraphs that you didn't write, and now I have to read them, and I know you didn't write them. So I can imagine for the application process how that could be exhausting, and maybe someone that took the time to articulate it in their own words, it's gonna now stick out even more. So I think even from that perspective, it's like, I get it that you were trying to make, that someone might be trying to make it fancier. And it's not that it's an issue to use AI, but it is an issue when they're articulating the whole idea for you. And now we're lost in, was this AI's idea or was this your original idea that you're trying to enhance and maybe write in a different format? So I love that. And I think that it's going to help a lot of people, and hopefully that they tuned in. Once you start getting these applications, you're going to be able to tell like who's paying attention, you know, who's listening to your advice at the end of the day.
It's a great tip. I see it all the time. It's like, it's one thing if you write something and have AI as an editor because you have typos. Hand up, that's me. It finds my typos all the time. And sometimes misses them anyway. It's another thing if you get a prompt and then you edit it your own way. But if you just copy and paste, it is, at least in current state, super obvious. And I think people maybe don't realize that, not just because it has a lot of M dashes and not just because it has certain things, but like it is just super obvious. So don't be that guy, right? Just go in and bring your own ideas, bring your own thoughts. And, you know, these are two incredible opportunities that you have in the two people that we have on stage right now who are helping continue to grow the Ape ecosystem as we're hoping to do today. And I think I'm really glad this was sort of our final panel before we did the startup competition, because this sort of closes the loop on all the things we talked about of networking, distribution, D2C, you know, how to get yourself set up, all these great conversations there. And then boom, here we are with the funding aspect, which I think a lot of people struggle with. But thank you both for your leadership and your help here. Your like the funding is the fuel, sort of jet fuel that gets added to the fire of innovation around here. And I think it's important to have really good, responsible people leading it. So thank you, Waabam, and thank you, Jay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I wanted to say one last thing, that the accountability that you guys are giving to the builders, where yes, there is funding, yes, there is ways of getting the support and adding this gasoline that the Gargo was speaking on, but also the accountability, the KPIs, and all this, you know, methods that now are going to make this something more sustainable and encourage the people that want to build something long lasting to stick around and to come up with their own ideas. So thank you for doing that, and can't wait to see what's next.
Preach, Laura. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.